So there's a new sequel to Zombieland, but is it as good as that Amazon Prime show was? Let's find out. So first off, let me say thank you to Store 974 for the tickets. Without them, I would not have been able to go to this premiere, so they are much appreciated. If you're watching this and you are in Qatar, make sure you stop by the Gate Mall to see Store 974 for all your computer gaming needs, whether it be a gaming rig or peripherals. So Zombieland Double Tap is a horror comedy directed by Ruben Fleischer. This is the same guy who directed Venom, Gangster Squad. It was written by 3 different people: Dave Callahan, Rhett Reese, and Paul Wernick. These are the writers behind stuff like Wonder Woman 1984, Venom, and Life. Cinematography is by the amazing Chung Hoon Chung. This is the fantastic DP behind Oldboy, Thirst, and It. It was edited by Chris Patterson and Dirk Westervelt. These are the guys that cut Logan, Hellboy, and Ford vs. Ferrari. So with all this talent behind the camera, the amazing cast from the original, and some new additions, was it worth the wait? So the premise is it's a decade later and our 4 survivors from the first one have been prospering, but things are changing because these zombies are evolving and becoming a greater threat. Will they be able to survive using their finely honed combat skills and their rules for surviving the zombie apocalypse? So the story doesn't bring a whole lot of things that are new to the table. It's the same world. It's just progressed a little bit further. There are new zombie types like the Homer, who is dumb, the Hawking, who is smart, the Ninja, obviously, who is quiet, and the T-800, which is just a badass zombie that's really hard to kill. The group has a whole bunch of new rules to follow, and they need them because some of them are getting frustrated with their situation, and they kind of want to branch out and change what's going on with them. That makes sense to me because if you were stuck with the same people for all that time, nearly a decade, you would get tired of how things are. You would want to meet new people. If, you're a young person, you'd probably want to find a mate. So the conflict that arises from that situation is spot on, but there are some other conflicts that happen during the movie that don't really make sense. They just feel really forced and like they're just in there to progress that plot. There's not some big story here that has this, massive arc where all the characters are changed for the better or for the worse. It's just, it keeps you going along and it's entertaining, and that's pretty much it. The cinematography in this movie is just awesome. You have these really great blocking shots, you have lots of fun camera movements, you have a few really long one takes, and you can tell it took them a lot of planning, and it was very complicated to execute. And the fact that it's edited together to look so seamless is really, really impressive. Given the fact that the cinematographer is Chung Hoon Chung, the lighting and the way that everything looks is going to be flawless, and it is. I really enjoyed the way that they used CGI in this movie, whether it was to show the passage of time and, how the world has just become desolate and just the destruction that the zombies have brought along with them. And also the fact that, sometimes they have to show a lot of zombies at once, but that CGI doesn't stick out like it does in, say, The Walking Dead. When you have a big group of zombies, it looks like a big group of zombies. You're not pointing it out and saying, oh, that one looks fake or anything like that. It looked like there are a few times where they show a big horde of zombies and they were blue screen or green screen, actors, and then they just shrunk them down to fit the scale of that shot. So everything in the movie has an eye on practicality and getting it done in camera, and then enhancing it in CGI, which is always the best way to do your shooting. Since the rules are back, the graphics that show the rules and explain them through animations and the way that they're on the screen are back as well. And again, they don't disappoint, they're really fun, they're interesting, and they don't really distract, they just blend in with the scene really well. The sound of the movie is really great. I love the sound effects. I love, all the stuff that the Foley artists did. And I also love the fact that they used a lot of licensed music, but in a good way, because a lot of movies, the licensed music is really a crutch. But in this one, the licensed music just really fits the mood of the film or the individual scene that it's in and the vibe that it's trying to put across. Also, they used Metallica Master of Puppets in the introduction during a gunfight, which is just awesome. There is some voiceover work just like in the first one, and again, it really fits with the film. It doesn't distract, it sounds good. It doesn't sound different from everything else. The musical score itself is also quite good, but this is the same person who did Sabotage and End of Watch. So the story's alright, it looks good, and it sounds nice, but is it spooky? Now remember, when I talk about spookiness in this context, I'm talking about the atmosphere and the world building. The intro is pretty great. It really gets you informed on everything that's changed, everything that has happened, and it gets you caught up with the story. You know, even though it's been a decade since the last one, you really feel like it hasn't been that long. There is a lot of good time spent on the characters, including the new ones. Now, I gotta be honest, I was worried about, all these people being added to the cast, if it would kind of dilute what you got in the original, but I'm happy to say that all of the new cast members really add something special to the movie, and it does make it really fun and interesting, and you actually like the fact that there are new characters. Now, the build-up of these new zombie types, the new characters, and the changes that have happened in the world are kind of undercut by some predictable stuff, and it does detract a little bit from the sense of dread or discovery that they've been going for. The movie's packed to the gills with a bunch of great references, stuff that really adds to the world, makes it funny, makes it enjoyable for you. And there are some meta moments. I normally don't like when movies or shows get meta because it can really pull you out of that experience really quick. But this, kind of like Deadpool, it knows what it is and it kind of brings you in on the joke. So, those parts I actually liked in this one. Now, I didn't like the fact that there are some things that happen that are really just there to move the story forward. And I also don't like the fact that everyone in this movie shoots like they were taught by Carlos Hathcock. They're just amazing shots. It's always headshots and all this kind of stuff, unless they don't want headshots because they're using it for humor in some way. So the world building's there, but are the scares? Not really. I never felt worried for the characters at all. There are some moments that get a little tense and everything, but I knew they were going to make it to the end. Not just because, there's probably going to be a sequel or whatever, fingers crossed, but because it just didn't have that vibe. They didn't really do anything with the new zombie types. You have all these really cool zombie types that they mentioned, but they don't have any scenes where they have to interact with them. And if they do, they tend to be these big battle scenes. There's nothing that's kind of small or intimate, like them having to clear a place out or anything of that nature. It's just, everything's really big in scale. And I think that kind of desensitizes you to the danger as well. When you have something that's smaller and it's darker and it's spookier, you're definitely going to worry more. There are a couple of decent jump scares, but there's nothing in the way of like big atmosphere, tense stuff that just builds up and you get really worried. Even the big finale, it was fun, it was cool, and I enjoyed it, but you were never like, oh man, I think something's gonna happen. So all in all, it's not very scary, but I do like the fact that they tried to add something with these new zombie types, though that wasn't really utilized enough.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for is here.
We're out of time.
It's Judgment Day.
So with new cast members, an expanded world, and some fun things that happen, it does succeed as a sequel. But it fails to capitalize on that world building, on the new zombie types. This is basically kind of a victory lap. It's a party for fans of the original. If you love the original, you're gonna love this. If you didn't love the original, you might still like this one because of some of the new additions and a little bit different tone. Quick note for all you Qatar viewers, there are a few cuts in the movie for censorship, of course. It's a rated R movie, and they can't just let it be and let us do self-moderation. So that does take down the experience a little bit, but not irreparably so. And there are a few times where they say some swear words like MFer, but they dub over it with something really timid, and it just sticks out and it sounds kind of stupid. But if you are in Qatar, I still think it's worth watching. I just hope that they do a sequel, fingers crossed, but they push the envelope. They make the story a lot more tense, keep the humor there, but make it a lot higher stakes. Maybe take one of the main cast members out. But all in all, it's a pretty good time, and that's why I'm giving Zombieland Double Tap a 7 out of 10.